Three stats, can you help me out?
30 hours.
Yeah. This type of shit you just ride out to.
What is the deal, beautiful people? It's your boy Ramon, Lifestyles Defined. Welcome to another episode of Aperture. And this one comes in the form of a question. One of the ignorant gamers boys, Richie, hit me up on Facebook and asked about getting into photography. So let me read you the question here. I'm looking to pick up a new hobby, and photography has been on my interest. My question is simple. This is not a simple question. If I'm going to choose a camera, which is better, DSLR or mirrorless, or a mirrorless, and why? So, disclaimer, right? I don't think I'm a seasoned enough photographer to really sit here and bang out the technical details on why you shouldn't do this. In fact, or instead, I have been taking my time to learn a lot of the fundamentals of photography and the technical details and how to really get the shot you want from whatever camera it is. So that being said, I've used DSLRs for a long time. I was a Canon boy, and for no particular reason. Canon is just what I had. I had the original Rebel. I had a T2i. I had a T3i. And then I switched over to Sony, and I got the NEX, which is mirrorless, the NEX 5T, and then I upgraded from that to an A7 Mark II. So I think I do have enough experience with both to really give my input. But it still really depends heavily on what Richie wants to do, and I didn't really ask him. Purposely, I didn't ask him like what he wants to do, because usually when people say something vague like photography, right, it's they don't understand photography is this huge sprawling genre. Like, you could do portrait, landscape, you can do macro, you can do street photography, you can do design portraits, which is something I heard of recently, and I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck that is, right? And within each of those things, there are sub-genres in there, and it just gets wild. And I don't think when he asks this question, he knows the direction he wants to go. So I would start with the most obvious things, right? So the thing behind a DSLR is there's an actual mirror in this thing. And the mirror is what gives you, it takes what the lens sees and relays it up to the viewfinder. So when you take a picture, the mirror actually moves out of the way to expose the sensor, and then you've got the magic going on. Mirrorless does not have a mirror. The sensor is literally right there in the front of the camera, and the viewfinder is all digital. So these are the two main differences between a DSLR and a mirrorless. DSLR has been around for years, and mirrorless is the new age up and coming. To a consumer, the difference between a DSLR and a mirrorless would be size. Most DSLRs are big, and in the recent years, Canon and Nikon has been doing a good job at really scaling down the DSLRs, but they're still a lot bigger. They can never get them as small as they want to because of the physical size of that mirror that's in there. So it's very little room they have to play with it. And I would sort of make the analogy of Samsung and how they never really like to change the size of the phone, but every year they go up like 0.01 inch on the screen size in the same form factor. That's sort of what these guys are doing with DSLRs. Now, mirrorless, I think mirrorless cameras still have quite a ways to go in terms of getting smaller. So I don't think we've seen the best of it yet. Now, mirrorless there's some downfalls to mirrorless versus DSLR in the technicality of shooting, like the viewfinders. Although in mirrorless the viewfinder has gotten really good. In my A7 Mark II, the viewfinder is amazing. They've gotten really good, but they're not as accurate or as fast as tracking the real live mirror feed that you get in a DSLR. So that can be a thing. And on the flip side of that, one of the very dope reasons I prefer mirrorless to DSLR is because I can actually see what my picture looks like in my viewfinder. So let me explain this to you. In a DSLR, when you look through the viewfinder, you're seeing a mirror reflection of what your lens is seeing. So when you dial in your ISO, your shutter speed, your aperture, you don't know what that looks like. You need to be able to conceptualize that in your mind, what this picture is going to look like. So in the DSLR, you compose your shot, get your settings right, you take it, and then you look at the picture and say, nah, too dark. Take it again, I can do better. Take it again, got it. With a mirrorless, because what you see in the viewfinder is the digital representation of what your lens, of what the camera will interpret, you get this magic happening, is what I like to call it, where whenever I change or adjust my ISO in the viewfinder, I see it actually going down. I can see what my shot looks like in the viewfinder. To me, that's dope. That's one of the things I love about mirrorless. Some people not so much. To me, it's a big deal. One of the other things that I love about mirrorless over DSLR for me is the amount of lenses I can get. And this is a Sony thing, right? So here is the lens I bought when I bought my A7 Mark II. And this is not an E-mount lens or FE mount, which is Sony's new mounts. This is an A series, so this is an old lens from their old cameras. And so I had to get a Sony adapter to put that on there. And this lens is dope, right? It's a 28 to 75, so that's a nice range for me. I can do my street photography, my portraits. I can pull some things in. Very versatile lens. And about a week ago, I stumbled across Minolta lenses, which is the same A mount. So these old lenses fit my adapter, and I just went ape shit because I wanted primes, and you know, Sony lenses are by and large very expensive. So I now switched. Hang on, let me get it for you to show you. So I went ape shit on the Minolta lenses. This is the 50 mil macro lens, right? Super dope. This is a 100 to 200. And then the one that I'm actually shooting this video on right now, if you notice, it's a lot wider than my other videos that I used to do with this 28. The lens that I'm using to shoot now is a Minolta 20 mil. So that's my wide end. So with these three lenses, these Minolta lenses, I've essentially covered the ranges that I needed, and they came in well under $500. And I mean, they're old glass, they're legacy glass. Two of them from like the 80s, one's from the 90s, and they're well constructed. And I think that's super dope that I have that versatility. And to be fair, in the Sony world, this versatility is needed because there's just a lack of lenses. Canon's been on the market much longer, not much longer, but they've got the DSLR has been on the market a lot longer, and they've got a bevy of lenses, and they're so much cheaper than anything Sony could get. So you would want to watch out for that. But to me, shooting this legacy glass is kind of dope. One thing I think the real diehard photography nerds will tell you is the focusing on the mirrorless is just not as good as DSLRs. But that's I feel like you won't run into that problem until you start to approach the medium ground, where you become experienced and you want to step into the pro world. And if you do experience that problem, you would have the money to throw at the lenses that you want to overcome it. So I still don't really, that argument doesn't really hold much in my world. But yeah, ultimately, I know it's been a long video. I know it's been long-winded. There's a lot that may or may not go over your head, Richie. I would recommend Sony wholeheartedly. There's a lot about the camera, their cameras, that I think is dope. Specifically, something like the A6300, which is the new bad boy that just came out, or even an A6000. Tawan shoots with one, John shoots with one, and because the new 6300 just came out, the 6000 is going to be a little cheaper. So I think the Sony A6000 is a hell of a camera for you to start with. You get you a nice kit lens. I think the kit lens on that thing was like a 18 of 50 or 55, and that's enough to get you some wide angle shots. You can do some landscape, you can do some street photography, and you can still bring it into a 50 or 55 to get some portraits. So I think picking up the kit lens will go a long way and just helping you figure it out. And of course, Sony's a lot closer. I mean, all these cameras are way behind in terms of technology, but Sony's a lot closer to the actual real world that I think Canon and Nikon, like things like being able to just connect to the phone via Wi-Fi and drag pictures off, and something I use surprisingly often, right? Like, I just come from shooting, I'll transfer all my pictures on the train and just look through them and start to really take note of what I need to edit when I get home. So yeah. But anyway, if you guys got some tips for Richie, leave them in the comments below. If you have anything to add to what I've said, leave it in the comments below. If you disagree, leave it in the comments below. Quick note before I get out of here. Lifestyles Defined is coming up on our 4th year in existence in April. And we always celebrate by having a party because there's a lot of people involved and a lot of hard work. And there's so many levels to this, right? Even if you talk about ignorant gamers and how we have a very good presence on Instagram and blah, blah, blah. A lot of you guys already know the spiel. Now, we went ahead and had a design, or I came up with a design actually, for what I'm calling the LD Love Collection. You should see that right now. You can get the link on the website. When you hit the website, it's at the top right. You can get it on our Facebook page. You can get it on our Instagram. Twitter, not so much. Twitter moves a mile a minute. So the idea here is a lot of the profit from these t-shirts, these hoodies. If you think it's dope enough, and we'd be honored if you do think it's dope enough and something you would actually wear, it goes toward not the party but the general maintenance of the channel, and we've been fighting to get our budget up and get our resources together so we can get more things, more phones to review, tablets, laptops, all of that stuff. So this is us putting stuff in motion, and we would really appreciate your support. And the way you do so is by heading to the link and checking out the merch and letting me know if you like it, and hit that buy button if you really like it. And even if you don't like it, just leave a comment below. Let us know how you feel about it. If any feedback you have on it, any things you would like us to do in the future, any ideas you got. Dopeness. I'm out of here. Peace.
From the deep forest into the sun.